Good evening. I'm Blake Howe. I teach music history in the College of Music and Dramatic Arts, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about LSU Symphony's concert series this year, as well as the first piece on our program this evening. If I were to ask for the best known, most beloved composers of Western classical music, who would you name? Bach, Vivaldi, Haydn, Mozart, Beethoven, Schubert, Rossini, Schumann, Chopin, Liszt, Wagner, Verdi, Bruckner, Brahms, Mahler, Strauss, Debussy, Puccini, Vaughan Williams, Stravinsky. So many great names, so many esteemed, venerated composers. But why are they almost always men? Where are the women composers? Why, historically, have there been so few? And why do they remain in relative obscurity today? One reason is systemic. Historically, many musical institutions, from the monastery to the royal court to the conservatory, accepted only male composers, excluding women. For example, the Paris Conservatory did not accept women into their composition program until 1870. That meant that a composer like Louise Ferranc had to study composition privately, restricting her professional network. Many women began their musical careers in a more accepted role as independent performers who could then play and promote their own compositions without needing to convince others to do so on their behalf. This was the case with Clara Schumann, Amy Beach, and Teresa Carreño, all virtuoso pianists, all accomplished composers. Another reason is economic. Historically, women have been denied their right to financial independence, but it takes money to become a composer, to pay tuition, to buy equipment, to hire performers. Many women composers were fortunate to come from musical families that supported their creative activities, like Barbara Strozzi, daughter of composer Giulio Strozzi, Elizabeth Jacquet de la Guerre, who belonged to a family of prominent instrument makers, and Fanny Hensel, the sister of Felix Mendelssohn. Yet another reason, and one that unfortunately still persists today, concerns the canon. That's the repertoire of so-called masterworks deemed serious enough, mature enough, monumental enough to warrant repeat performances at concerts today. Serious, mature, monumental, these are adjectives associated with stereotypes of masculinity. Think Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, or Brahms's First, or Mahler's Eighth. The works by women composers, on the other hand, have often been treated condescendingly, described as delicate, sentimental, quaint. Some women composers, like Cécile Chaminade, have been excluded from the canon on account of their gender. Her major orchestral works were criticized for being unfeminine, while her smaller piano works were derided as dainty. Concert halls are like museums. They collect artifacts of the past and preserve them for the present. But they also have the tendency to replicate past prejudices and injustices, resulting in a canon of music that looks more like this than like this. Which is why I'm so excited to participate in LSU Orchestra's Year of Women in Music under the leadership of Maestra Riusuelo. Every concert this year will feature at least one work by a woman composer in an effort to address the gender imbalance in so many programs today. Our first concert features the Concertino for Flute by Cécile Chaminade, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about her extraordinary life and music. Cécile Chaminade was born to a well-to-do family in Paris. From an early age, she played music at home with her parents and siblings. She excelled especially at piano, and she would have excelled at the Paris Conservatory had she attended. But her father did not think it proper for a woman to do such a thing, and so instead she took private lessons for many years. In the 1870s and 80s, she premiered a series of large-scale works, an orchestral suite, an opera, a work for orchestra and chorus titled Les Amazones, and a ballet titled Howe. Piano arrangements from this ballet became some of Chaminade's best-known works. Here is the famous Scarf Dance, played by Chaminade herself for a commercial recording made in 1901. In 1887, Chaminade's father died, leaving her family in a financially tenuous state. Chaminade turned her attention to a more lucrative musical market, sheet music. In the subsequent decades, she became the most published woman composer of her generation, with hundreds of short piano pieces and songs targeting all levels of performers, children, amateurs, and professionals alike. Her publications were beautifully illustrated with images of trees and flowers and often had evocative titles like Cortège, Pastel, and Leaves of Autumn. To promote these publications, Cécile Chaminade embarked on extensive recital tours in which she exclusively played her own compositions. She made annual trips to London, where she was a favorite of Queen Victoria. And in 1908, she crossed the Atlantic for a multi-city tour of the United States, where she was honored by President Roosevelt. She was immensely popular, so much so that she had her own perfume line, the Chaminade, inscribed with 3 bars of her music. But a more meaningful indication of her celebrity are the music societies that were founded in her honor. At their peak, over 100 Chaminade clubs across the country championed music through recitals, choruses, and scholarships. Some are still in existence today. There's one in Jackson, Mississippi. Here's the website for a Chaminade club in Rhode Island. Chaminade's success abroad was met by success at home. In 1913, she received one of the highest honors given by the French government, the title of Chevalier of the Legion of Honor. She was the first woman composer to receive that honor. One of Chaminade's most beloved compositions is her Concertino for flute. 3 decades after her father refused to enroll her there, the Paris Conservatory asked Cécile Chaminade to compose a competition piece for the students of its flute department, chaired by the eminent flutist Paul Taffanel. The resulting work, Chaminade's Concertino for flute, has had a remarkable afterlife. It's a staple of the flute repertoire, and it's probably the most frequently performed concert work today by a woman composer. What makes this piece so special? Maybe it's the wistful opening melody. A tune that sounds like a folk song, at once new and familiar. You'll be humming it during intermission, I guarantee. From that place of peaceful repose, the music intensifies. The pastoral countryside now hosting increasingly faster, increasingly energetic, increasingly virtuosic escapades of the adventurous virtuoso. Remember, this is a competition piece. In the cadenza, the flutist enters into a state of ecstatic reverie all by herself, nostalgically recalling past ideas, past themes, past memories. And then, the most magical moment of the piece, the gorgeous main theme returns. Dum, da, 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 dum. As soothing and comforting as a warm blanket. This journey from the familiar to the new to the familiar again is one we all have experience with. We meet new friends but are comforted by old ones. We embark for college but anticipate our return home. We revel in past memories even as we forge ahead and adventure new ones. Joining Maestro Riusuelo on this spiritual musical journey is our flute soloist, Professor Catherine Kemmler. Together with LSU Symphony, they inaugurate LSU's Year of Women in Music with Cécile Chaminade's Concertino for Flute. Thank you and enjoy the performance.